Hi, everyone, and welcome to Signature West Podcast. I'm your host, Sam West from Palm Springs, California. As you know, I'm a seasoned real estate agent since 1991, and I bring you the podcast to bring you inspiring stories. If you want to find out more, go to www.samwest.co. Domestic violence among gay men is a topic that's not often talked about for whatever reason. I don't know why. My guest today, Matty Fagan, has the courage and nice enough to come on and talk about his personal experience with domestic violence, his recovery, how he recovered, and also how our own local court system dealt with the domestic violence around the gay community. Hi, Matty.
Hey, Sam. How are you?
Good,
Good.
thanks.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So, very interesting topic.
Yeah.
Um, um, I am echoing in your background for some reason. I think I am. I'm not.
I don't hear it.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a serious topic, and I wanted to hear your story. So I know that you met someone in 2019,
Yes.
2019.
Yep. Jason.
How did you guys meet?
We met in AA, actually. I have been part of the sober community here in Palm Springs since 2018. And well, I met him in 2018, actually, a year before we got together. But yeah, we sat next to each other in a meeting one day and just started talking. So
When did you feel the attraction?
it was pretty immediate. So in 2018, I met him at a dinner with some sober friends here, and I could tell he liked me, if that makes sense. He was trying to flirt with me, and I thought he was annoying, actually.
Did you
um,
like him though?
Not at the time. I was like, well, I had only had, I don't know, it was probably a couple of months of sobriety. And so I was really focused on getting healthy and not interested in relationships at the time. So the timing was not right. I don't know. It was not an option for me at the moment. But when I met him a year later, we didn't see each other for this big chunk of time. And after that meeting where we sat next to each other, we were talking to each other afterwards. And he was telling me all the things that he was doing since he got sober. And I was really impressed about the change that he had gone through from when I met him the first time to a year later. And I was definitely excited. And like, we didn't exchange numbers or anything. And I just remember thinking like, oh, I hope he comes back to this meeting next week so that we can chat some more.
Because now you're getting excited.
Yes. I thought he was cute.
And
hunky.
okay.
Yeah. He definitely was a sexy guy. So I was
Physically.
very physically attracted to him. And I was really, like I said, I was really impressed by what I saw as him taking positive steps to being, a healthy, sober gay man in our community.
Right.
So.
And I speak for myself as well. We're testosterone driven, and I think like 99.9 we're attracted based on the physicality. That's what drives us. And then we look into the inner, and then we find it, and then it overrides, whatever else we find out wrong with the person, because and it's just that's how we're wired.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you know me, right? Being a physician, I'm very intellectual. And so I'm still a guy, at the end of the day, but it was more than that. It
I'm
was more than
glad.
physicality.
I'm glad you brought. Yeah, but I'm speaking for myself, and I think
Yeah.
most men, maybe even most. I don't know about the straight world. I'm not straight, so but I think for most of us, we look. Oh, we look and say,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, look at and then next thing you know, we'll want to get to know the person. I'm
Right.
glad you brought up your education because I wanted to say to everybody who's watching and listening, you're a fairly educated person,
Thank you.
one would say, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
think so.
We would agree on that because
Yeah.
the notion for most people of that domestic violence only happens to during or for the less educated, the less people from a certain bracket financially,
Right.
which is completely misconception. So I'm glad you brought that up before I ask you uh, what your education background is.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a stigma there,
Right,
right?
right,
That,
right.
this happens to lower socioeconomic people or whatever you want to say. And
Yeah.
I think I was probably guilty of some of those thoughts
I
before.
think probably most of us are
Yeah.
to unless we hear a
Uh,
story. Say, "Oh my God, it happened
yeah.
to you too."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you
But
met
yeah,
and you
I'm
started
a
to
I'm
date.
a I'm a physician. So for your
If you don't know, yeah.
if you don't know, I am a physician. I'm a family practice doctor. I finished my residency in 2010, been practicing since then. So almost 15 years. I actually, this month is 15 years in practice. So, um, yeah,
So you started to date. Both of
yes,
you decide, okay, we're gonna go and give this a try.
yes.
At one point, did you decide to move in? You moved in with him, or he moved in with you?
He moved in with me. Um, it was more than a year later,
Okay.
but a little over a year.
So it wasn't a week later.
No, no, not at all.
So
And
it go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Well, and it was like at the start of the pandemic, right? And
Okay.
everything was shutting down, and it just kind of made sense.
Sense,
Yeah,
right? Of
like
course, of course.
we were kind of quarantined together anyway,
Yep.
and spending two rents. I was renting at the time. I didn't own my house yet. And so it was being built actually. So like sort of the plan initially was when my house was finished, that he would probably move into me. That was sort of my mental plan at the time. But because COVID happened, my house took a lot longer to be
Of
built
course,
than
of course.
anticipated. And so it just kind of made sense that we decided that we were going to do it kind of sooner than we had initially sort of
And
planned.
that was at the prior place you were living in, not the one that you
It,
live in now.
it was, yep. So I rented when I first moved to Palm Springs. I didn't know if I was going to stay here or not. So I
When
didn't
did
have
you when did you move to Palm Springs?
I moved here in 2018 also.
So you moved here, you
Yeah,
kind of like you started your sobriety and then you kind of met him. So it all happened, new place, new location,
yeah,
new city.
yeah. And
Okay.
I was excited. I really came here to get healthy.
Right.
A big part of my drinking history, I think, had a lot to do with self-medicating and dealing with my mental health. And, again, right, just it's like you said, like those things touch everybody, right? No matter what your place in life is. And yeah, so I was in a really good place when Jason and I met at the time, because I had really buckled down on getting into therapy, attending a lot of AA meetings. I have a really great sponsor, things that I was doing all the things that I think, we're sort of told to do in
Life was grand.
yes,
Life
yes.
wasn't just turning out, you like I said, you moved, you're turning a different direction,
Yeah,
you're in a new city, you like the new city, you like where you're becoming, and you meet this person you are attracted to. I mean, what else do you want out of life, for crying out loud,
yeah.
right?
I was excited.
Right. Who blame?
It started out as a really positive.
Right. And you're planning on buying a home and it's being built. My God, I want to be you.
Yeah. I mean, uh, I was coming up on 40. I'm 44 now. So like, I was like, these things that I've been working really hard for are coming true.
Right. So when now, because I didn't know what happened first. Now that we got where you guys moved in together,
Yeah.
when was the first incident between the two of you that abuse took place?
It was after that. So it was when we had moved into this house, which I've lived here for 4 years now. So it had to be in 2021, I think.
You have to pause for a minute. You have to actually think about it. It doesn't come like instant, that moment, that day, that year.
No.
Really?
It's weird,
I would think it would pop like at 5 p.m. on the Thursday at 2 night. That's when he did, I would imagine.
So the setting for it had really spiraled down by the time a lot of this was happening, so to back up a little bit, before we even moved into this place, Jason had relapsed on.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
So that's a part of the story. So,
okay. Let me stop you right there. Yeah. When he relapsed, how did you feel about that as a recovery person? Did you want to save him? Did you feel responsible because you're still sober? How did you feel about this whole transition?
It really threw me for a loop, because one of the things that I've always been like, if I'm in a relationship with somebody and they relapse, like ultimately that's something that I like need to not be a part of then moving forward. It's like a deal breaker for me. I can be a supportive person, but and Jason was my Achilles heel, like when that happened, suddenly I found myself really torn about what to do. And Jason had his own struggles with mental health. And he went to rehab at Betty Ford. And so, I was kind of like, if you do all the things that you're supposed to do, I'll stand by you. And it just became.
Did he?
Oh, go ahead.
Did he?
No, not at all. Okay. He did for a while.
Okay.
And like what kept happening is he would be good for a while and then it would sort of start to spiral out of control and then he would relapse again. And
you living together at the time.
Yeah.
Which made it very difficult because obviously you're not.
Yeah. And so living in a household with somebody who's struggling with active addiction was one of the most difficult things that I've ever experienced. And it's crazy because like, I remained very sober, thankfully. But I was really unhappy. And so I think looking back at the situation, that's one of the ways that it was able to exist, is that ultimately when I eventually got hit by Jason, I was already in a really defeated, vulnerable place to not stand up for myself.
When was that? You just said it. When was that?
So I think it was the end of. So Jason went to rehab in July of 2021. And it was in I think it was in September of 2021 that he first hit me. Because we were living in this house already, and he had come back. Yeah.
And what caused the incident to take place? Was it an argument? Was it a confrontation? Or was it just he lashing out? What caused it?
So the first time that he hit me, we were sitting on the couch. His dad was actually visiting and was sitting in the living room with us. And our dog had come up on the couch and was like trying to cuddle with him. And he hit him really hard. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, and I think I went like this to his head. I was like, what are you doing? Like, think, you could have really hurt the dog. And he flipped out. He started like pounding me in the head, punches, boom, 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 like totally out of proportion. It wasn't like I was like, I didn't like smack him. I just was kind of like, think you could have really hurt the dog. But he was set off, and it was crazy because me, Sam, I'm very athletic. That's how we know each other, right? We play pickleball. I was completely defenseless against him. I couldn't fight. He was much bigger than me, first of all, but he was a personal trainer, so he was very fit and a bigger guy than me. And
What did the father do?
He just watched. He didn't stop him. He didn't say anything. I think he was probably scared too, but
it's interesting. You brought a point that I wanted to bring, and I'm glad you reminded me.
yeah.
When people talk about, straight domestic violence, of
Yeah.
course we say, wow, a man without testosterone, whatever,
Right.
a
Right.
woman,
Right.
probably, petite, whatever. So
Yeah, there's a mismatch, right?
right. And then you look at domestic violence among two men. What is that, a boxing match?
Right.
Like, what is that going to look like? I mean,
Right.
it can't be that bad, right? They're two men.
Yeah. I was defenseless.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought
I
that
mean,
up.
he was enraged, right? I mean, that's what, really the situation was that he was totally enraged over
Was he at that moment?
Yeah.
Let's say, I don't know if it was what
Yeah.
he's drinking or using. Was he at that
Yeah.
moment drinking or using?
I don't know,
Hard to tell.
so he told me later that the first two times that he hit me three times in total. And he told me that
Separate
instances,
Okay.
separate incidences.
Okay.
He told me later that two of the three times that it happened that he was sober. So I believe in that situation, that first time, that he was not on drugs.
Well, you would know. I mean, you've been around the block, so you would know.
Totally.
And
I don't think he was. I think he used after that. I think he used after that because
that's fine.
Yeah. But
so do you think from a medical point of view, from
Yeah.
an adult point of view, from an educated point of view,
Yeah.
do you think when somebody's in rage, and God knows I get rage, I have my own rage. When someone gets enraged to behave in that way, why are we blaming it on substance abuse? Because if he's enraged without using, it's just rage. So it's not really related to
it being in this situation challenged a lot of the things that I thought like I said, I think I was guilty of before, right? So, Jason had done this before. I learned that he had hit his partner before me in New York, and That's one of the things that I learned about domestic violence is like, it's like people who hit, you know, they hit. That's, and, um, it didn't have anything to do with drugs. Obviously that doesn't help the situation, but at least in my circumstance, I speak for my circumstance. Jason hit me sober and high. It didn't matter. He would have hit me anyway. And you know, one of the things that I got a lot afterwards is people who know my personality is that I'm strong. I'm strong. Especially because I'm intellectual. I'm willing to like stand up for myself. But people were like, "You made him mad." No matter how mad somebody is at you, you never deserve to be hit.
How did you feel after the first time and the second time getting that much abuse?
I was embarrassed. I didn't I didn't know who to tell, you know? And I I wanted my relationship to work. I rationalized and justified a lot of it away in the moment, where I was like, his mental health is so bad. It's like if he can just get better, like this is gonna go away. And I just have to like get through this. This is a one-off. He's gonna get better. He's going to get better. I just have to wait for him to get better. And that's what I kept telling myself. That it's going to be like it was before. I held on. The beginning of my romance with Jason was very magical. I was so happy. It's like I held on to that thought for such a long time. And ultimately, when I did share about it with the people in my inner circle, obviously they were scared, they were upset, they all wanted me to kick him out.
But you didn't.
I didn't. And I kept telling my sponsor, I'm really close with my sponsor. She's amazing. Her name is Shay. She has 35 years of recovery. She was a counselor.
What did she tell you? What did she advise you at that time?
Well, so like for one thing, when he relapsed, she was like, you really should have him get his own place. He needs to get a year sober, before you guys kind of reconvene. And I didn't listen. I didn't listen. And looking back on it, I think she was totally right. And like I said, he kind of challenged a lot of the things that I thought. When you look at people who commit domestic violence, it's a really manipulative situation to be in. And I was a victim of it. And it's like so much about my case is very stereotypical, cliche, whatever you want to talk about it. But I was not mentally in a space where I was making smart choices. That's for sure.
Then at what point did you break and you decided, I don't want this anymore?
So the last time that he hit me, we had started going to couples counseling, and it was really difficult because I don't think that he's somebody that like saw that he needed to change, if that makes sense. But
no, that's even very telling.
Yeah.
To what the person, I mean, if you can't admit you have a problem with anything, he went to get sober. So he admitted, he has a problem,
Yeah.
and then he relapsed. That's understandable. But if you don't want to go to therapy to admit you have another problem, that's
Yeah,
another problem in the problem
yeah.
itself.
But one of the things that our counselor was doing was like trying to like have us work on ways to like de-escalate arguments and stuff. And at the end of our relationship, I mean, I was really very depressed. I literally would just like work and then like sit in my bed, because I was trying not to. It was a protective mechanism. I realize now that I was really afraid, and that I was really trying to not have arguments with him, to not do anything to like stir the pot in my household. And um we we so we were talking to his dad on the phone, and he wanted me to talk to him. His dad was moving to Palm Springs, and his dad was like worried that he wasn't going to have the money to afford living in Palm Springs. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, he was a professor for like 50 years. I mean, he made a good living. Has adult children, all this stuff, and he like confessed that he was giving all this money to Jason. And I was like, well, Jason has two jobs. He lives with me. Like, why are you giving him all this money? And Jason got furious. Um, and my gut told me, and it was weird. Like, my gut told me that I should not be involved in this conversation at all because it was their family matter to begin with. And I didn't listen to my gut. But he started arguing with me, and I went in the other room because I was trying to practice the things that like our therapist was telling us to do, but he wanted to continue to fight. And so I kept like walking away, and he started beating me with his cell phone. And it was in the back of my head because I was like, I'm not arguing with you. I don't want to fight with you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm walking away. I'm going in the other room. And it was from behind. And he like got me to the ground, and I couldn't get up. And he just kept hitting me in the head with his phone. And I was bleeding everywhere. And finally, he let me up. And I I tried to call the police at first, but he kept taking my phone, and I was like bleeding everywhere. And I was like, let me call Shay. Please let me call Shay. I need help. Please let me call Shay. And he like cornered, I was like in my shower, and he gave me my phone so that I could call Shay, my sponsor. And she came to my house, and I was just like in the shower, and she took me to the emergency room because I got like, I think 20 staples in my head. Um, and I lied at the hospital. I said that I hit my head on the counter, which, again, right? People in domestic violence situations lie even when
No,
they
no,
go
no,
to,
just stop right there.
that's a lie.
Wait, no, I know, no. Why? I mean, I only see this in the movies, to be
Yeah.
honest. When the woman,
Yeah.
I just saw it on there was a TV show on Netflix, and she lied. I'm like, okay, it's a film. Why did you lie?
I, you know, in my mind, I kept saying like I didn't want to be responsible for screwing up his life any further. And I also, I was like, if he gets in trouble for this is going to make our life so much more complicated. But I, I called Pinky, David, our friend Pinky, right? And he came to my house, and took Jason to a mental health facility.
How? Or what? How did the person just say, "Hey, take me"? How did that
He
happen?
he agreed to go. He agreed to go. And he lied at the facility and said he had hit his head. It's nuts. It's so nuts. But they let him go because they said he had to get medically evaluated. And while he was at the facility, Shay and Pinky convinced me to call the police. And the police came to my house, and Jason came back while the police were there. And one of the things that the policeman, so some things that I learned from the policeman, one is he kept telling me, obviously this is escalating. And he's like, that's what happens to people in domestic violence situations. He's like, the violence gets worse. And he's like, I'm really scared for your life at this point.
He,
The
the
policeman.
policeman. Okay.
And I wasn't thinking like that. I look back now.
What were you thinking?
I was just traumatized. I wasn't thinking anything, I don't think. I was really depressed. So it was really hard. And it's like your hope is shattered. It's not a
It's
not a
beyond
good,
chat. It's beyond shattered.
yeah, it was not a good place. I mean, literally, I just had 20 staples put in the back of my head, and
After. It's just like it's not like the one time
yeah,
20
yes,
stitches. This was a
exactly.
result of.
Yes, yes. And so the other thing that I learned in California, which I think that this is a good thing, and this actually gave me hope after the fact, was that he asked me if I wanted to press charges against Jason, and I was like, I don't know. And I know. And in California, if somebody commits domestic violence against you, even if you don't want to press charges, they arrest the person and press charges. So he came back while the policeman was there, and they took him to jail.
So did you say to the police, "I don't know" or "I don't want to"?
I said, I don't know.
So it wasn't a
And
no. It
he
wasn't a
and
yes.
he told me it didn't matter
Okay,
what I
because you
said.
didn't say a yes or a no.
Yeah,
You just
I
said, "I don't
didn't
know."
say yes. I
Okay.
did not say yes.
Okay.
Pinky and Shay were like, yes. And I was
Well,
like, I don't
but
know.
they don't really count.
No.
Yeah.
But they took him to jail.
Okay.
So and that was the end of us living together. Like, he never came back here. And there's also a difference when with domestic violence charges, there's a misdemeanor charge and there's a felony charge. If you get seriously hurt or you're injured with a weapon, which they considered him hitting me with his phone, I was injured and he hit me with a weapon, that it was a felony charge, which obviously carries more serious consequences. And over the course of the months that this was happening, I actually started to be like, okay, Jason needs to be brought to justice. He's done this before and has got away with it.
What made you shift? Earlier, you did not want to do anything. What made you shift?
I started realizing that I was a victim of domestic violence.
It finally clicked. It finally clicked.
Yeah. And honestly, getting him out of my space.
Give you more clarity to think clearly.
Yeah. And the whole time that this was happening, I had said, I had wanted Jason to get sober. I had wanted Jason to get therapy if he was doing the right things. And he was like, well, you have to do those too. And so I did. I started going to therapy again, and I was taking it seriously. I continued to stay connected to my sober tribe. And with him away from me,
Give you space to think.
yes.
Right. I get that. I get that.
And I mean, and I think that's kind of like what you see too, right? It's like when we always think of this, like you said, like man and woman. It can be anybody, but when they get away,
But the
um,
minute you hear a man hit a woman, it's like, well,
right,
obviously, yeah, it's a size issue. But you hear two men hit each other, we're like, okay, who won or who did what? You don't think of it as a size proportion because two men, they both got testosterone. You could be 5 foot tall and you can hit somebody like a motherfucker. But a woman, it's highly unlikely. Her bones are made differently than a man. And
I
that's
was
standard.
I didn't realize how I was living in so much fear.
I get that.
I realized that for years, I felt like I was holding my breath.
Okay.
Um, I, I couldn't leave my house. Um, I was really, and I was really shut off from my friends. I wasn't telling the truth. I was
And
only,
that was by just I want to be clear, but that was by choice.
it was,
No one,
it
because
was.
I know other people, and I
No.
think I mentioned to you, and
Yeah.
I wish I can find the person.
Yeah.
It was literally, forced to be locked in. He
Right.
wasn't able, almost like
Yeah.
physically handcuffed,
Yeah.
but yours was a
Yeah.
place
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the same thing, right? Like I think it, it was by choice, but
It's still
it's through
locked in.
it's it's like the abuser and the victim. It's like it creates these circumstances. And like I was victim to that.
Correct.
And yes, ultimately it was my choice, but it's like the circumstances make you vulnerable to be a
Right.
victim.
Right.
You know,
Then you went to court.
I went to court. So
Why?
I got a restraining order. Um, so I was waiting to see what was going to happen with the felony charges, and nothing was happening. And
Because the court is just moving slow, or just
it
not
was
the time
moving,
moving
it was
slow.
moving slow.
Right.
And he wouldn't leave me alone. Um,
How so?
just taunting me through text messages, taunting me through emails, asking to come back.
The victim card.
Yes.
Okay.
He did actually something really terrible too.
You want to talk about it?
I will tell you. So, I reached out to his parents because
Why?
I was really close with them. We were together for 4 years almost in total. And I was like, I need your help. I was like, I can't continue to deal with this situation after everything that's happened. Jason won't leave me alone. And I ultimately I was like, I care about him. I want him to get better, but I can't be the person that's responsible for helping him with that process
Was
anymore.
this after the police ordeal?
This was after the police
Okay.
deal.
Okay.
So his parents reached out to him, and in response, he sent pictures and videos of us to my mom.
What kind of videos?
Guess,
His mom?
to my mom.
What's your mom?
To my mom.
Oh.
And called my mom a cunt. And she ultimately just was like, please leave us alone. My mom went to the police in New Jersey, and made a police report about it. And that's when I was like, okay,
I need to
he's
do something.
involving my family. I was like, he's crazy. I'm scared he's going to reach out to my work or something crazy like that. And I was like, the court is not uh, doing anything, and I need to protect myself. And um, so I filed for a restraining order.
How did that go?
It was Shay went with me, thankfully, which I was really glad. And it was interesting because he tried to play the victim in the court. Um, it was really disheartening because the judge said to me, you know, breakups are really hard. Are you sure this just isn't you like being upset about being in the breakup and that you're overreacting? And I was like, no. you know,
This is Palm Springs Court.
yeah, this is the one. Yeah, in no, the one in India.
Oh, Superior Court, Superior Court.
Yeah, because I live in Cathedral City.
Okay.
So, um, you know, I felt like the cop was way more understanding of domestic violence issues, the progression of domestic violence and how it gets worse over time. Whereas I felt like the judge really didn't make me feel supported. But she was really horrified by the situation that happened with my mom.
Oh,
And
that's what upset the judge.
yes.
Okay.
And you know, so there's two different kinds of restraining orders that can happen too that I learned about, at least in California. There's one where you can put the person on a like a temporary restraining
Right.
order that doesn't go on their record, and as long as they don't like
Violate it.
do anything, then it just goes away.
Right.
And then there's like what they call a permanent restraining order,
Right.
which does go on the person's record, and it's only 3 years. So, uh, but she made me choose
Oh.
which. And I looked at Shay because, again, what's crazy is that in the moment I felt conflicted.
Well,
I know.
conflicted can be two things. You can be conflicted. You don't. You want to pick which one is good for you.
Yeah,
Or conflicted. You don't want to pick which one is bad for him.
I know.
So which conflicted were you?
I I just felt like his life was really fucked up, and I just didn't want. I know there. You know, I think you know people. A lot of people that are victims are of domestic violence are very empathic people,
Right. Right.
unfortunately, right?
No,
And so,
I think it's, and I've had similar, not like that. It was, it's the taking care part that the hope they can change. The hope I've seen the good side. He will get better.
yeah, you hit the nail
he's
on the head.
not
Yeah,
sober. Once he gets sober, we're gonna be fine. I've been myself. I'm not. It's all this rationalization. Though, and I get it. I get it. It takes really a strong one to say, you know what, I'm done.
I
I'm
you know
done.
you hit the nail on the head, right? Like ultimately, my part in this is that you know I thought I could change him.
And you're not the
I thought I
gatekeeper
could
of anybody. Yeah.
I could love him to healing,
And
right?
there's a reward in that I healed somebody. Oh my God, I saved the day. I saved the soul. I got it. Which if we realize that that's not in our storyline, it never was, it never will be. Even your parents are not here to save you, which they give you birth. So
So,
once we get that,
but I did 3 years.
oh, you did.
I did. I
Okay.
did. I did.
And was it granted?
It was.
Okay. Okay.
And
So hold on. So the judge first said that he was not, whatever, the breakups are hard to do, but he ended up ultimately giving you the okay. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So it did go
It did
well.
work out.
It did work out.
Okay.
But I was looking back at the situation, like I just think about like I'm a really fortunate person in that
You're not
I'm
dead.
I'm a person of means, like I have really good support system.
Yeah, yeah,
I just looking back at it, I was like, I think about people who aren't in my circumstance going through the process and being totally alone, not knowing what to do, facing somebody who challenges the fact that they're a total victim in the circumstance, especially it's in people that you think should be 100% supporting them, right?
yeah, yeah.
And the evidence was black and white. He beat the crap out of me. I mean,
Well,
but
to some can say, well, you went to the ER and you did not say. So, I mean, a judge can always have to play the judge, whatever. But obviously, yes, you have the storyline is a storyline.
he acknowledged it in court that it happened.
Oh, he did.
Yes. So
Lucky you.
yeah. But so yeah, so ultimately
It worked out.
it worked out.
Are you
And
still in the 3-year period?
it ends August 1st.
How do you feel about that?
It's interesting because for a long time in the beginning, I thought so much about how 3 years wasn't forever.
Right.
And then he has 100% left me alone. He is still here in Palm Springs. I have seen him at the Firebirds games, but we have stayed away from each other. He's not tried to approach me or anything. But my mom just visited from New Jersey and we were talking about it. And I realized that under the surface, there is a little bit of angst about August 1st approaching, but
You're a stronger person.
I'm also just like,
a bigger person.
If he fucks with me, I'll go right back to court.
Yeah. I mean, you're a stronger person. You're not the same
am.
person you were 3 years ago. Right. I get that.
And, I'm at the silver linings side of this, right? Where like, yeah, it was a terrible situation.
But you became a different person because of, and the 3 years gave you the space and the time to hopefully not fall for the card again.
I'm a survivor. And I'm like, I'm a warrior.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that happened is, so they kept delaying the court for the felony charges.
Oh, so how did that end up? But
they dropped the charges. He's not being convicted.
How? Why not? Based on what?
They don't tell you. So every couple of months I would get a letter saying, it's delayed, it's delayed. And then eventually I got a letter saying, that they're not pursuing they've decided not to pursue the charges.
And they don't tell you why?
Nope.
So to be clear, you are the victim of you are the person that was found being, violated, and the court.
So he's facing.
And the police is the one that took him in, as a matter of fact, but yet the court decided not to press charges or continue with the case.
Yes. So I don't know if it's like the district attorney or whatever is
I think it is.
Proper term,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They ultimately sent me a letter saying.
And you don't get to know why? I mean, the reason they don't tell you? I think it should be a given right to know why.
I called a couple of times over the course of the last 3 years just to try to find out like what's going on. And I actually have the card of the policeman and his email, and I emailed and called and never got any response.
Because if there was a case, you would have been brought as a witness, you might have been brought, but there was never a case filed. Wow.
Yeah.
Welcome to Palm Springs.
Well, I don't know if that's what it's like everywhere, but again, right? So it's like,
I think I said this to you in person, and I'm going to say it now online.
Yeah.
We live in the most liberated, liberal city in the nation. We're so gay happy. We're so
it's a great place to be LGBT. We're really supported here for sure. Right?
I think you said the nail on the head. Yeah, but here we are, after all the evidence that you just mentioned and all the receipts, the district attorney or whoever is running the show in the city of Palm Springs or Cathedral City, it doesn't really matter, or Coachella Valley, it's the same thing. Found there's no reason to file a case, not just even, you could have had a case. You could have went and had your piece and said it, and they could have found you, hey, Matty, you're full of shit. This makes no sense. We're going to let the guy go. But you didn't even get that chance. And this is the point I want to make, and I wanted to this to be understood. It's fascinating to me that we live, like I said, if we lived in Nebraska, if we lived in Wisconsin, if we lived, I don't know, Alabama, I would say okay. But yeah.
We're like taught to believe that, actions have consequences, right? And it's disappointing. But I can't live existing in that. I'm okay. I'm at peace. I've become a better person.
No, but my point is, if this was in Alabama, a gay between two gay men, I get it. They gotta say, kick you both out the door or whatever. Between you figure it out. But again, it's Palm Springs, California. It's not Alabama.
Yeah.
Matty, thank you so much for being courageous enough to come out and share your story.
Sam.
I certainly had a hard time, following the storyline, and
sorry.
Around. It's not your fault. I've been around. I get triggered easily, and
well, like you said, you never think it's going to happen to you, and
right.
I was very surprised after the fact, the way that people justify somebody being angry as a means to hurt you.
Yeah.
And just never accept.
What the fuck is that?
It's never accepted.
Yeah. And again, we don't talk about it among gay men. You see that, you hear a lot about industry where you see it in movies, you see it, in your neighbor, you see it every day. This film is made about it, God, endless. But I don't recall a single film that I've watched, that a gay film or a gay story, even fiction or not fiction, that has that, there's always the man beating the woman, and she gets a survival, the JLo story. I forget what the movie called. And she takes, karate and she beats him up and he. Yeah. But we don't hear about gay men often. And I'm sure you're not the only case, by the way. I'm sure you're not the only case, by the way.
I know from my work experience also that, it's a lot more common than we know. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming. And for the ones that are listening and watching, I hope you learned enough here. If you're in that situation, or if you're in a similar situation, or if you know somebody in a similar situation,
speak up, act out, call the police, domestic violence progresses, and, you could be saving somebody care about's life. I really think about that I could have been seriously injured, and
I could have been dead.
Yeah.
Just to put it bluntly, could have been dead.
Yeah.
Fortunately, you're not. Yeah. All right, everybody. If you enjoyed the show, thank you, Matt. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe. It's for free. It helps me bring people like Matty here, bring the stories here. It's local. We live around the block from each other. So if you're local, please help us help people like Matty come back and tell more stories and inspire you and inspire me. So I'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody. In 2 weeks. Take care and be safe.
Thanks, Sam.
Safe.
Bye.